Welcome to CivilNet. My guest is Vicken Cheterian, journalist, analyst, familiar with the Middle East, with Central Asia, and someone who has just recently returned from Northern Iraq. Vicken, welcome back to CivilNet.
Hello, Sarpi.
Vicken, you were in Northern Iraq, and you're going to be writing a piece for Le Monde Diplomatique, among others. I would love to ask you about the Syrian Kurdish situation. I also want to ask you about the Kurds themselves in Northern Iraq. Who knew 5 years ago that today they would be the stable elements in Iraq, that they would be the example that the international community holds up for Baghdad? And is that what you got?
Northern Iraq is the El Dorado of Iraq today. When you go to Erbil, you see everywhere construction projects, new shopping malls, new hotels, thousands of foreign workers from Turkey, from Lebanon, from India, from Philippines. I met even Turkish Armenians from Istanbul who moved to Erbil saying that, this is a whole country to be reconstructed. So there's enormous, limitless business opportunities.
And also structure, rules, regulations, governance.
In reality, the Kurdish Regional Government, this is the official name of Northern Iraq, is autonomous state. It has its own military force, the Peshmerga. It has its own budget. It has its own foreign relations. You can fly from Erbil or from Sulaymaniyeh to Beirut, to Frankfurt, to Vienna. So, it has all the elements of self-determined statehood, but it remains legally, from Iraqi constitutional perspective, part of Iraq. Also, it remains financially attached to Iraq because based on the 2005 Iraqi new constitution, the Kurdish Regional Government touches 17% of the Iraqi state budget. So that's lots of money, billions of dollars every year coming from Baghdad to Erbil. So another reason for the Kurds to remain within Iraq.
What about the reverse, the oil money going from Erbil to Baghdad?
That's one of the subjects of controversy between the two cities. The Kurds are developing oil and gas projects, and Baghdad is accusing them that they are not returning this money to the central budget, so that it's redistributed according to the different shares agreed in the constitution. And the Kurds say that, according to whatever element of the constitution, their interpretation is that they should have autonomous management of this local oil money.
Autonomous management of local oil money or autonomous use of local oil money?
Both, in the sense that new oil projects developed, and now they are developing very important oil and gas projects through Turkey to export to the rest of the world. And basically the Kurdish take is that they have the right to sign independently such contracts with foreign companies, with Turkey, with oil companies, and then to manage those assets as they find it fit.
It was very surprising to me. I was in a conference recently in Istanbul where the guests of honor really were the Kurds from northern Iraq, and the Turkish governmental and financial circles were quite comfortable with them, and vice versa. But the Kurdish relationship with the other Iraqis present was not equally comfortable. It was a very, very odd reality to watch that echoes exactly what you're saying.
Yes, this is the big kind of paradox of Turkish foreign policy towards the Kurds. Basically, now in the last 3 years, their negotiations with PKK has broken down. The Oslo process of finding a political solution to the PKK armed struggle and Turkey's Kurdish minority rights has come to a standstill. On the other hand, remember in 2003, Ankara was strongly opposing U.S. invasion of Iraq because it feared the emergence of Kurdish autonomy as it has emerged eventually. But by 2005, 2006, 2007, Ankara came to the conclusion that opposing KRG, the Kurdish Regional Government in Iraq, doesn't make sense anymore. This is a reality on the ground. And eventually it came to be the best kind of friend And today in Erbil-Baghdad controversy, Turkey has taken the place of the US in protecting the Iraqi Kurds. Yes, there's a huge paradox in Kurdish foreign policy towards the different Kurds in its neighborhood or towards its own Kurdish population.
And the Syrian Kurds, where are they in this triangle?
Well, when you read different kind of announcements, analysis, one gets the impression that Syrian Kurds are in a position to profit from the ongoing Syrian revolution, as the Iraqi Kurds profited from the 2003 American invasion of Iraq. Some say that Syrian Kurds want autonomy and they are doing everything to get it. Now, on the ground, things are more complex. So we have basically two forces within Syrian Kurds. Maybe before elaborating that, I should insist that historically Syrian Kurds never had an autonomous local political force which articulated a policy for Syrian Kurds to bring changes for their own reality. In the
You mean within Syria?
Within Syria, yes. There were individuals fighting for human rights within Syria, for more freedom for Syrian Kurds, because they were treated as second-class citizens inside Syria. But historically, Syrian Kurdish political forces, the real forces, were either followers of the Kurdish Democratic Party of the Barzani family in Iraq, so 60s, 70s, and starting from the late 70s, early 80s, we have a new force emerging, the PKK, which had very deep roots inside Syria. In 1984, PKK, after losing its bases in Lebanon and its protection through PLO, it evolved an alliance with the Syrian regime in Damascus and could behave quite freely in Syria. And it recruited thousands of people inside the Syrian Kurdish community. Now, from the number of dead militants of PKK, different estimates put the number of Syrian Kurds to be between 7,000 and 10,000. That shows you the deep penetration of PKK within the Syrian Kurdish community. And since the start of the Syrian revolution, PKK militants came down from the Kandil mountains, hundreds of them, to take important positions within the community. Probably this was done in negotiations with the Assad regime. Assad, in his speeches, said this frankly, openly. And today, PKK-linked PYD basically controls the military situation within the Kurdish regions. Next to that, we have a 16-party coalition, the Kurdish National Council, and this coalition is in close collaboration with Barzani force in Iraq, and they are trying to create a counterweight to PYD, but I think it's very difficult to do that.
And generally, the Erbil government and its relations with the Syrian coalition, how are they?
So Erbil government is trying to do two things. One is to press on the Kurdish Syrian political parties, PYD on one side and the Syrian National Council on the other side, to find mechanisms of cooperation and to create a unified military kind of leadership. And thanks to the efforts of Barzani himself, probably we avoided a bloodshed within the Syrian Kurds because tensions are very, very strong between the two sides. So this is one policy. The other policy Barzani is trying to have is to have Syrian Kurdish personalities to be within the new coalition. And this is what happened 2 weeks ago when one of the positions of vice presidency of the council was given to a Syrian Kurd.
Thank you, Vicken. I think that anything that we learn about the Kurdish relationship in the region is only going to help us understand better the future for all the communities, especially the Armenian community. Vicken Cheterian, journalist, analyst, just returned from Northern Iraq, today in Geneva, talking with us on CivilNet. Thank you, Vicken.
Thank you, Sharpi, and thanks for your efforts with CivilNet.
Thank you. And thank you for watching CivilNet.